Hello everyone, Storm 101 here. Today we'll be talking about two different storm systems later this week. The first one will be going across parts of the eastern US. Could have some snow on the northern side here across parts of the northeast and maybe for parts of the Ohio Valley. And maybe it could get as far south as the mid-Atlantic. That will be Tuesday into Wednesday. We're also going to be talking about potential for a major storm system. Two pieces of energy. You got one that comes from the Midwest, one from the Southern Plains. These here could come together to a big storm system across parts of the eastern part of the country as well that could bring major problems. Before we get started this video, if you guys do like weather-related content, give us a subscribe to my channel. We do this stuff here all the time on this channel. Plus, we'll be having more updates on these systems over the next couple days, so definitely stay tuned for that as well. I also want to mention that I do apologize for having no uploads over the last 2 days. That is due to the poor internet. Now, back on Saturday, parents out of town, I had to do stuff here at home, do dog chores and stuff. So unfortunately, I couldn't do anything to make a video Saturday. And then Sunday, we had showers and thunderstorms all day that led to very poor internet. So I couldn't do a video on that day either. But at least the internet is better today, and I'm able to make a video today. And hopefully it stays that way for the rest of the week because we do have several things to talk about. Since I got that out of the way, we're going to get started with the watch warning advisory display. And it's generally quiet. You do have wind issues across parts of the eastern U.S. Those brown boxes are wind advisories. You got some winter weather alerts across parts of the western U.S. And there's some scattered flood problems across parts of the eastern U.S. But overall, it's a little bit more quieter today compared over the last couple days. This is back on Saturday here, and we had it may be safe to say this might have been a little bit of a tornado outbreak, but we did have several tornadoes out there in Iowa, even a couple. There's one in several Wisconsin, maybe one in northwestern Illinois, and it looks like there could have been one in northern Indiana. But the biggest story of what's been going on in southern Iowa, we had a long track supercell that produced a long track EF4 tornado. Now, that's a preliminary report. The National Weather Service did do a damage survey today, and their first preliminary report on the damage, they rated 170 mile per hour winds in EF4. And that could change. Keep in mind that it could change. It could go higher. We'll see. But regardless, Saturday was not a good day for Iowa. And then you had a couple clusters of thunderstorms that continued to move off to the east. They went through parts of Illinois, Indiana, eventually finishing off in northwestern Ohio as well. And then yesterday, maybe not as bad, but we still had tornadoes out there. Keep in mind, these are just preliminary reports. I expect some of these numbers to go higher. We only have 4 tornado reports so far, but don't be surprised if that number does increase. But because we also had a long track supercell that went from western Arkansas and that went all the way up into southeastern Missouri yesterday, and that did produce some tornadoes out there as well. A couple of those might have been pretty strong as well. We may find that out by tomorrow for some of the preliminary reports at least to see what the preliminary ratings are. But overall, yesterday was another active day here when it comes to severe weather, really from parts of Arkansas, and that goes all the way up into parts of the lower Ohio Valley as well. And then so far today, not much in the way of wind reports so far. That number could increase later today. Which, if we do look at the storm prediction outlook for the rest of today, there is a slight risk for severe weather from north central Georgia that goes all the way up just east of the Appalachian Mountains into parts of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. There's a very small tornado risk area in the parts of Alabama and Georgia. Otherwise, it's a very low risk. Damaging winds would be the main threat. Not expecting much away of large hail, but I don't really see today being a major day or anything like that. But regardless, damaging winds will still be a possibility with a squall line that will push through parts of the eastern U.S. later today. And really by tomorrow we do quiet things down a little bit, but there is a marginal risk for parts of the Gulf Coast as well, of Louisiana, and eventually to parts of Alabama as well. And not much happens on day 3. But the main system we're watching here, at least for the next one, will be from Tuesday into Wednesday. So here we are getting into Tuesday. Here's our system popping up on the left side of your screen here. By the way, this is the Kda model. We'll check out the hardest Canadian on the same storm system. And you can see it kind of takes a more southern track here. But you do notice there, snow does pop up from central Kentucky all the way up into parts of the mid-Atlantic, even a heavier band of snow in the parts of mid-Atlantic. Not sure how I feel about that, but the NAM has done decent in the past, I would say. But regardless, it does give a pretty good snow hit for parts of the mid-Atlantic and maybe in the parts of the Northeast as well. It's a little too early for amounts here, but here's the highest Canadian. There goes your first system here. Some areas could experience snowflakes by tomorrow morning in parts of the Ohio Valley in the Northeast. But here's your next system here coming in from Tuesday into Wednesday. It does have quite a bit of snow on the north side, but you also notice it is much farther north with the system as well. And the highest Canadian does have a little better handle when it comes to cold air, but there has been a little bit of a northern trend here over the last several runs from some of these models here. So that is something to watch for as well. But I do believe, regardless, I think there could be a pretty good snow for a decent amount of areas on the northern side of the system here as well. We'll definitely have to keep an eye on the system here. But then again, it's too early for amounts, but it certainly could be enough to cause some issues up across the northeast, especially as well, where you can have snow for a longer duration as well. And eventually it should get out of here really by Wednesday night. And you can already see your next system here building to the west here. But let's kind of look into the first system in a little bit more detail. So talking about energy here, energy is pretty important when it comes to winter type systems. This is the NAM. This is the one that headed further south. There's actually a lot of energy out here, out ahead of this wave here. So this is by Tuesday night. You can see here with a lot of the energy going on there, there could be periods of some moderate to maybe at times heavy snow as well. When you get nearby one of these energy streaks, you can get a pretty good snow out of it as well. So that'd be something interesting to watch as well. But there's a lot of energy back off to the northwest as well. And that can influence the track of this system down here as well. So that'd be interesting to watch and see. But if we back this up, so I have the hardest Canadian set up to 60 Wednesday. So here we go. And really, there's not much of a major difference here between the hardest Canadian and the NAM. The only biggest difference I see here is that the energy off back to the northwest is a little bit stronger as well. But it doesn't really change all that much here, despite it having being a little bit farther north. Could be fine with that cold air a little bit better, maybe a little bit more amped with the system here. But if we do play this through, you can see there's still a lot of energy going on out there as well. So I do believe this system here Tuesday and Wednesday could be a pretty good snow for some areas out there as well, especially when you got a lot of energy going on in the upper parts of the atmosphere. You can get a pretty good snow out of this. It may have a chance to become an overachiever, but we'll have to wait and see. We're still a couple of days away, so some things could change. I'll have to wait on to see when some more models could get in range as well. But for right now, I think it's just best to look into some of the higher resolution model guidance as they can have a little bit better handle with it as well. But either way, we'll check out some of the medium range guidance real quick. And the GFS does like that little bit farther south track, just like the NAM, which GFS may be a little too fast with it, but we'll see. But checking out the Canadian model, it's just like the highest Canadian, it's further north. What does the European model say? It's also a little bit further north, which honestly I think a little bit further north might be a little bit better track, but it could change. We will see. But definitely has the potential to become a pretty good snow for some areas across parts of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. Then again, it's also a little bit too early for snowfall amounts since there's still some uncertainty with the system here as well. But I could definitely see the potential for several inches of snow. Somebody could certainly see several inches of snow out of this. We just don't know exactly where. Okay, let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about the big one. And what I mean by the big one, it's this one right here. So you got a strong piece of energy that comes to the south here across the four corner states. At the same time, this is 18Z on Friday. There's another system that comes into the north that brings in a major shot of Arctic air. So here's your low right here. Here's your other system down here. I mean, honestly, even this system here by itself could do a lot of things. But if it faces with the northern one, it definitely has potential to become a big storm. It really gets its act together really by later in the day on Saturday. And then bam, here we go. Your Arctic front moves in. The severed piece of energy does interact with that Arctic front. And the Arctic front will bring in the cold air. And there you go. You get quite a bit of snow on the backside of the system. I mean, look how dynamic this system is. There might be the possibility for some severe weather along parts of the southeastern U.S., and that could get as far north as parts of the Atlantic. Just given by how strong the system could get, there could be a decent amount of instability involved, so severe weather may be a possibility. But I think a lot of people's main focus is that this could have the potential to become a big winter storm too. But it's also going to be a fast mover as well. You can see here by Friday night, it's down in Mississippi and Alabama. 6 hours later, it's in northern Georgia. And here you go, your main low kind of develops way farther north in the parts of the northeast. So this is going to be a fast moving system here, and that can decrease your snowfall potential. But regardless, there's some heavy snow showing up on the GFS ball on the backside of the system here as well. Plus, it could get very windy as well. As that low does begin to rapidly deepen, you get very close isobars. There are going to be some dangerous wind chills on the backside of the system here. Wind chills can get very cold back there. And even in the warm sector here, you got very strong southwesterly winds as well, so that's going to keep things mild down there as well. Now, the good news is, if you're not a snow lover for parts of the eastern U.S., the cold air cycle lasts very long here, except for the northeast. But if you do live in the southeast, it's pretty much short-lived. High pressure does move back in as well. And another system could come in early next week, but that's just a little far out. So here's a Kda model, and you know what? It's similar. But it's a little bit more flattened out with the system here. It's not as amped as the GFS shows it, but regardless, either way, it still shows a big storm here. Not even millibar low in northern New Jersey or over New York City, with a big snow shield on the northwest side of the system here. You still got a lot of cold air coming into the system as well. And you can see how fast this system does deepen as well. This could have the potential to become a rapidly deepening low as well. And here's the European model, and it's also this very similar thing. But I do believe the low does develop a little bit early. It begins in Mississippi and Alabama. You already got heavy snow on the backside of the system here from southwestern Kentucky down even to parts of the mid-south. Mid-south again with that chance of snow. And you can see here how it does ride along parts of the Appalachian Mountains, which we haven't really seen much of an Appalachian runner over the last several years. So it's been a long time since we legitimately see an Appalachian runner. This system here may have the potential to see that. And while I'm mentioning that, is like if you live in the Ohio Valley, if you want a lot of snow in the system here, you want the system to ride along the Appalachian Mountains, which is something we haven't seen a very long time. And you can get a pretty good snow out of this if it does go along the Appalachian Mountains. And you can see here, it also, just like the rest of the balls, it becomes a big system, still rapidly deepens, a lot of wind, quite a bit of snow on the backside of it, likely some severe weather in the warm sector as well. So it's definitely something we got to monitor here. But one thing's for certain is that this system could be moving fairly quickly as well. So for some areas, you may get a pretty For some areas, you could have a short duration of moderate to heavy snow, which can limit your snowfall totals as well. But that's also too early for snowfall totals as well. Let's check out some of the ensemble members, like the GFS ensembles. There goes your first system right there. It does become a big low when it gets up to the northeast. Here's your other low that could bring in some snow for parts of the mid-Atlantic. And then here comes your next one right here. And stopping at this point right here. So this is Friday evening. You got a low pressure system. It's actually much farther south here. But here's another low. There's a cluster of models here that shows a low up here. And there's another low up here. So you got three different lows that the GFS Ensembles is trying to spit out here. And we'll definitely have to watch and see which one becomes the dominant one. The one that I will watch is probably have to be the southern one instead of the other ones. This low right here would want to be bringing the Arctic front. We'll have to wait and see what happens with this one up here. But look at this. This is a pretty strong agreement. That's a mean F995 millibars. That's a pretty good agreement for this far out. And if you go to another frame, 986 millibars just for a mean from the GFS Ensembles. That's pretty insane, and it just keeps on getting better. 977 millibars. So there is a strong agreement, but the difference here from some of the other models is that it has a farther southeastward track. Now, for some of the systems compared to the past, it has been a little bit too far to southeast, so we'll have to wait and see if this here could trend to the west. That is a possibility too. It could either trend west or east. It's still a little bit farther out. But let's check out the European ensembles. And compared to GFS ensembles, it's actually a little bit farther to the northwest, similar to the European model. But then again, you go to 6 hours later, it's over the Smoky Mountains, 1,002 millibar low. So it's a pretty decent low. But the members are all over the place though. But I think some of this up here is a different low here. But as you get farther south here, check out the disagreement here. You got lows that go through central Kentucky, eastern Ohio, then you got other ones that gets as far east as East North Carolina. So there is some absurdity with the European ensembles, but they all eventually cluster up together as it gets to the northeast. But what they all do agree on is a strong low pressure system. I mean, look what some of these members are spitting out. 68, 67, 66, or in other words, a 966 millibar low. That's a very strong low, but most of them, at least given an average, is a 986 millibar low, which even that by itself is still a strong low. So overall, we really have to keep an eye on the Friday into Saturday time frame because there could certainly be a big storm in the eastern U.S. and it can cause some big problems as well. Either if it's in the warm sector where you got a lot of wind, decent amount of rain, possibly some severe weather. Then you go in the backside system, you could get a good amount of snow and quite a bit of wind as well. If we check out some of the models here, well, GFS, a European model, what the differences are when it comes to energy, because this is also important. So like I was saying earlier here, there's going to be two pieces of energy. You got one in the upper Midwest, you got one in the Southern Plains. This is already a pretty good setup here for a big winter storm. At the same time, where the European model is a little bit further to the northwest, it's got the southern piece of energy a little bit slower, but also the northern piece of energy is a little bit farther to the north as well, which kind of tells me here that this northern system here might be a little bit slower here than the GFS, which the GFS a little bit farther out does have a progression bias, and that keeps the system a little bit further to the east. But if it does become a more amped system, it can be further to the west as well. So timing is very important, but timing can also be important is whenever these here can phase with each other, because if one of these here is too faster than the other, it may not phase correctly. But even if it doesn't phase correctly, I still do believe the separate piece of energy can still become a big storm, because even by itself, there's a lot of energy with it. Which you can see here later down the road, they do kind of merge with together. I think the separate piece of energy may increase with speed quite a bit into Friday night into Saturday morning, and then bam, you get a big storm. Going back to the GFS model, pretty much the same way here. It does seem like that the surface energy may accelerate in speed as well when you get later in the day on Friday into Saturday morning. So either way, this is going to be a very interesting system here to watch, but there is still plenty of uncertainty here. Keep in mind that we're still a few days away from this event, but this is certainly going to be a very interesting system to watch. But anyways, guys, this is all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Guys, like this video, hit the like button if you do like my channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, put in the comment section down below. Answer you guys questions, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye and have a good day.